Before I get to today's lesson, I just want to do a quick review of our last lesson. In our last lesson, we learned how to debug in Java. So I have here a program, a Java program. To add a breakpoint to your program, all you have to do is double click on the line, on any line of code that you want to add the breakpoint. If you want to remove a breakpoint, you just gotta double click again where you have the breakpoint, where you have the dot. If you double click on that line again, it's gonna remove the breakpoint. So I'm removing all these breakpoints. And to debug, to start the debug, all you have to do is go up here and click on this little bug icon. And just click yes here. And now you're debugging. This is your program, and this is where it's currently stopping at the breakpoint. If you want it to continue, you can go up here, either do step over, and it's gonna go line by line, or you can press the play button here to resume, and it's gonna jump to the next breakpoint. When you're done, you can just play and let the program finish running, or you can press this red button here to terminate the debugging. So if I press terminate, then it stops. Then if I want to start another debug, I can go and debug again. One other thing is you have the different perspective here. So currently we are in the debugging perspective. If you want to switch back to the regular coding Java perspective, you just click on the icon. There's a little icon up here on the right hand corner. Click on that and it takes you back to the old perspective. All right, and from here, if you want to debug again, just click on debug again. All right, so that was the quick review of how to debug in Java. Now on to today's lesson. Today's lesson, we're gonna do more with arrays. So we started the lesson on arrays a couple of days ago, and today we're gonna learn more about arrays, and we're also gonna learn how to use the for each loop. So to get started, I'm just gonna copy our old lesson over. So this is the old lesson we had on arrays. I'm gonna do a copy. And I'm gonna do, I was waiting for it to copy, but actually I need to do a paste. So I'm gonna do a paste into the same package, and I'm gonna name the arrays for each loop. Arrays for each loop. For each loop is another kind of loop. It's very similar to the for loop, but it applies only to arrays, which we're gonna go over today. So here I put in the program name. I'm just gonna click OK. And this is my new program that I just copied right here. So all these code are from the old lesson. Up here we're just declaring a bunch of variables, which I'm gonna remove because we're not gonna do that today. And down here we have the example with the array. So basically, if I just go and run this code here, let me clean it up a little bit. So basically I have an array here of 100 elements. Let me just make it smaller so it's easier to see. So I have here an array of 10 elements, which means it goes from A0 through A9. I have a for loop here to load the elements of the array. Each one I'm going to load it with the value of I. So A0 is gonna have a 0 in it, A9 is gonna have a 9 in it. And down here, I'm printing out the array. So I'm going through each, I have a for loop to go through each element to print the value of each element. Okay, so let me run this. And basically that's all it does. It loads 0 through 9 into the 10 different elements of the array, respectively. And then it just print out the value of those elements. Now, so that's how the array works. Now I want to show you a new kind of loop. Instead of this for loop here, let me just copy it, and I'm gonna show you a different kind of loop. So I copy it over. Instead of changing it, I copy it and I comment it out. So you still have the code here to compare with the new loop that I'm gonna put in right here. So to do the for each loop, I'm gonna have for, and I'm gonna have the value of each element, each cell. So I'm gonna name, I can leave it I, or I can change the name to value. Whatever name you like to use. It doesn't have to be value, it can be I, it can be anything else. Then I'm gonna put a colon here, and then I'm just gonna put the array name here. So basically, this loop here, it's gonna automatically loop through the whole array, starting with element 0 all the way till the end of the array, which is I less than the length of the array. But it does it automatically, so you don't have to specify starting with I0 and then go up to this and do I++. You don't have to do any of that. So this for loop is gonna loop through automatically, and for each one it's gonna return the value of the element, and it's gonna put it into this variable here. It's gonna store the value of each array's element into the variable value. So now my variable value has the value of each element of the array. So I'm just gonna print value here on each iteration. And let me run this. So basically this loop here is very similar to this. All I did was I still have the integer variable. The only thing I don't need is I don't need to initialize the variable, and I don't need to tell it when to stop and how to increment it, because that's all done automatically with the for each loop. This loop is called a for each loop. For each loop. Alright, so let me run it. I'm just gonna remove this old loop here because we don't need it anymore. So you can see how the new loop works. I'm gonna run it. And you can see it prints 0, 1 through 9. Exactly the same as the old loop. This loop is just a different way to do it. And this loop only applies to arrays, so you cannot use this for other things. It's only when you have an array you can use this. Alright, so that's the for each loop that we want to go over today. In addition to that, I want to go over a few other things. To declare an array, you can either declare it by doing this way, like specify the number of elements, and then declare an array name as new integer array in this case. But you can also declare it differently. You can do it, you can initialize the array and declare it in one step. For example, if I have an integer array A here, say I'm gonna put a bracket in and I'm gonna put in 5 to 7, let's say. So this is gonna declare the array, declare an initialization. So it's gonna declare the array, and it's gonna store the number 5 in the first element of the array. It's gonna store the number 2 in the second element of the array, and number 7 into the third element of the array. So this array is gonna have 3 elements, and it has the initial value of 5, 2, and 7. Let's see if that works. So we don't even need this section here because the array has already been loaded with those values. We can remove this, and then we're gonna print out the array using the same loop for each loop to print here. And there it is. So we're printing the array. The first element of the array is 5. That's this one here. The second element of the array is 2. And the third element of the array is 7. This array has 3 elements. If you want to verify that, you can say, you can print the array length. The length of the array is, and the array, our array is, the name of the array is a dot length. So that's going to return an integer. Let's run it. The length of the array is 3 because our initialization, we initialize it to three different values. Okay, so you have 2 different ways to declare the array. You can declare the old way like we did before, or you can do it this way. One last thing I want to go over today for today's lesson is I want to show you how to do a different data type array. So far we have done integer array. So this array stores numbers, integer numbers. Now you can have an array that stores other data type. For example, we can have a string array, and we'll name it string A is fine. Let's leave it like that. And we can initialize the array to 0, 1, 2. So basically, the first element of the string array A is going to contain 0. The second element is going to contain 1. The third element is going to contain 2. Maybe let's add one more so we can see the length of the array is going to change. If the length of the array is going to correspond to the number of values you put into the initialization here. So let's do one more just so we can see that. So 2, and then I have 3. Okay, so I initialize my string array A to these values, and then I'm just printing out all the values in the array. And you can see there's an error here because our array A is a string array, so you cannot store a string value of each cell of each element into an integer value. So I need to change this one to string. The variable value has to be a string, not an integer. And now there's no more error. So let's run it. And there we have it. So it prints out example using array. That's this statement here. And then the for each loop loops through the whole array, starting with element 0, which has the value 0 in it, and then goes 1, 2, 3. Here we go, 1, 2, 3, and those are all the elements of the array. So then the loop finished, and then we print out the length of the array. The length of the array is 4. And that's our lesson for today.